Hello, friends, and welcome. Can you all hear me and see me okay? Just get a message in the text box. I'm by myself today, so if someone can give me some feedback, if you can see my image okay and hear my audio okay. Very good. Thanks a lot. Okay. Well, welcome to the Libra full moon meditation and talk. We'll just wait for a few minutes in case there's any latecomers. Um, some of you may have already read my voluminous latest newsletter. Quite a bit of stuff to talk about, but today we'll just discuss these first few sections of the newsletter that relate to the Libra, the decision, the theme of the decision of Libra, um, and Venus in Scorpio and Pluto, Pluto, the planet of power, the path of aspiration and discipleship, and also Libra relating to the mysterious reversal of the wheel. So we'll come back to that later. And I'm going to reshare my screen now to the meditation that most of you are familiar with by now. This is in read mode. There we go. You can follow it on the screen, or you can just close your eyes and listen. It's probably the latter is probably the best option, I think. And so let us bear in mind that we are meditating today, with thousands of other people all around the world, individually and in groups, who are all aligning themselves with the full moon. So we can visualize this triangle, or the planet composed of a surrounding aura of triangles of linked groups and individuals. That is, in fact, the etheric body of the planet. So we'll start, excuse me. I'll just turn my video off. And so we start with our personal and group alignment by sounding 3 ohms to vitalize and harmonize the personality vehicles, mental, emotional, and physical. Oh. 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 Stage 1, group fusion. We affirm the fact of group fusion and integration within the heart center of the new group of world servers. mediating between hierarchy and humanity. We bear in mind that the new group of world servers is the Ajna center of the planetary logos. And we sound the formula for group integration. I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Stage 2, alignment. We project a line of lighted energy towards the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, the planetary heart, the great ashram of Sanat Kumara, and towards the Christ at the heart of the hierarchy. Project a line of lighted energy towards the heart of hierarchy. And we extend this line of light towards Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. Stage 3, higher interlude. We hold the contemplative mind open to the extraplanetary energies streaming into Shambhala and radiated through hierarchy. Using the creative imagination, we endeavor to see the three planetary centers, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, gradually coming into alignment and interplay. Stage 4, meditation. We contemplate the sign Libra, the scales, the balance, and the keynote for Libra upon the upward way is: I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. Libra, the middle way. Choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. Stage 5, precipitation. Using the creative imagination, visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet and becoming anchored on Earth in prepared physical plane centers through which the plan can manifest. And so we use the sixfold progression of divine love as the sequence of energy precipitation. Shambhala, hierarchy, the Christ, the new group of world servers, men and women of goodwill everywhere, and the physical centers of distribution. So just to repeat, we use the creative imagination to visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring through these 6 stages of manifesting spirit into matter. Shambhala, hierarchy, the Christ, a new group of world servers, men and women of goodwill everywhere, and the physical centers of distribution. Stage 6, lower interlude. Let us refocus the consciousness as a group within the periphery of the great ashram, the ashram of the Christ. And together we sound the affirmation. In the center of all love I stand. From that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. And so we visualize the downpouring spiritual inflow released from Shambhala through the hierarchy, streaming into humanity through the prepared channel. And we consider how these inpouring energies are establishing a pathway of light for the coming of the world teacher, the Christ, or Lord Maitreya, as he's also known. Pathway of light. The new group of world servers builds this pathway for the return, the imminent return of the hierarchy. Stage 7, distribution. As we sound the great invocation, visualize the outpouring of light and love and power from the spiritual hierarchy through the 5 planetary centers: New York, London, Geneva, Darjeeling, Tokyo. See that light irradiating the consciousness of the whole human race. And as we see these 5 planetary centers brilliantly lit, our planet, looking down at our planet from space, we also see the great network of light workers around the planet, invoking the energies of Libra, the peacemaker, and of the hierarchy. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Om. 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 Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. Hopefully we can all see the newsletter on the screen again. And I don't know where my picture's gone to, but I assume you can see me. Thanks. Thanks for the feedback there. By the way, that recording that we play before the meditations is called Nada Himalaya by Deuter, a German composer. Some of you probably have heard of him. He's been around for a long time. I do encourage you to buy his CD. I'm not affiliated with him, but he provides his music for free, and so he needs some sort of reciprocal feedback from people who benefit from the wonderful video. It gets us all in the mood for meditation with a great footage of the Himalayas and the singing bowls that he plays. So anyway, couple of comments there in the chat. Just Google Nada Himalaya, Giselle, and on YouTube, and you'll find his links, I'm sure. He has lots of other great stuff too. Anyway, this wasn't meant to be a plug for for Deuter, but what else was I going to say regarding that? Oh yeah. Okay, so I was just going to briefly discuss this image you can see on your right-hand side here. It's a well-known one by the Dutch artist Joffre that I use regularly in my newsletters. They're very esoteric. He has a lot of symbolism in his paintings. He has one for each sign of the zodiac and a bunch of other ones that are quite esoteric. So you can see Libra, the scales here, and various entities, the Egyptian entity on the left there, of course, that you see that's taken from the original Egyptian one, which has got other various Egyptian deities weighing the scales or weighing the heart in the scale after death, the judgment, if you like. And we have these other winged beings down here. Anyway, I won't go into a complete analysis of all the symbolism in there, but there are quite a few things that you can look at when you look at Joffre's paintings. And so Libra, I went to great pains in this newsletter to discuss how important Libra is preceding the US election, because this is not just a US election, this is a global election in many ways. And so all the thoughts and ideas of the rest of the world are behind one party or the other. But essentially what emerges from this, the decision that humanity has to make via the American voters is global ones relating to two major potential wars that could turn into world wars, which are, of course, Ukraine and the Middle East. And so we are on a knife edge in many ways, historically. Although, of course, the hierarchy have said via various outlets, one in particular, Foster Bailey, in the 1970s, that nuclear war would not be allowed, that it would be blocked, the hierarchy would intervene. And who knows who else? We have rumors of the Space Brothers, so-called, who also um, can arrest the electrical circuits responsible for launching of missiles. Nonetheless, we cannot be complacent, I think, in terms of our attitude towards balancing these forces. And Libra is the balance. And theoretically, Libra is the place of making peace, Libra the peacemaker. And during this entire month, however, the energy of Libra is being qualified and conditioned considerably by its ruler, Venus, placed in Scorpio. In fact, this full moon, I think I've got it down here somewhere, shows Venus in the last degree, Scorpio. Let's see where it is now. I can't remember where I put it. Anyway, it is in the last degree of Scorpio. And as I said in my newsletter, the energy of Scorpio for humanity as a whole, or Venus in Scorpio for humanity as a whole, can tend to be the point of least resistance of vindictiveness, revenge, hatred, desire for power, and all those kind of things. Yet it also has a positive aspect in terms of Venus and Scorpio representing the intuition, which is beyond the mind, plus also some hard bargaining that can take place in terms of negotiations, diplomatic negotiations. Libra is the diplomat par excellence, who stays engaged and seeks to keep engagement so that dialogue can continue, can proceed. Michael says there was a time with World War II when the hierarchy chose sides because the evil was too much. I've been reading the externalization of the hierarchy, and it seems like the exact same situation exists today. Libra is the time of weighing. Yes, agreed, Michael, and I've written about this many times. Of course, the book Externalization of the Hierarchy is incredibly prophetic, especially the years leading up to World War II, from the 1930s through to 1939. We are in a cycle now of an 84-year cycle of Uranus, 84 years later from that time, where all these things, we are recapitulating all those particular steps. But we have greater knowledge and foresight, hopefully, this time round. So the war, as I say regularly, is the Third World War, and it's on the mental plane. Whether it precipitates to the physical, as far as a world war is concerned, remains to be seen. But we are at a time, as I discussed in my last Virgo newsletter, where some of the deepest, most intransigent problems on the planet are being addressed, and one of them is, of course, Israel and Zionism, and the stranglehold that that group has across over the United States. And so we find ourselves in a time of great opportunity of the resolution of some very, very ancient problems. And at least the seed of this resolution of those problems that may take another century to work out, for all we know, longer or shorter. So, where was I? Now, Libra is a sign of decision because the judicial mind is engaged to create a balancing of the scales, to stop the scales oscillating from one side to the other, to the point of poise and perfect balance is found in the middle, Libra, the middle way, of course, and a decision is made. Judicial, of course, relating to that word judgment, which of course is Saturn, the lord of karma, which is exalted in Libra. And I've written here, excuse me, Saturn and Libra are both mentally oriented. Saturn rules the throat chakra, the gateway to the mental body, and also rules the third ray of active intelligence, the only ray to pass through Libra. Libra is a mental air sign ruled by Venus, the ruler of the fifth ray of knowledge or science. And Uranus is Libra's esoteric ruler, regarded as the planet of science. And the Tibetan quotes here, Uranus, the occult planet, stands for exoteric science, which penetrates into the hidden side of formed life. And thus we have the period wherein man is not alert enough or conscious enough to seize upon opportunity and to turn it to esoteric or soul ends, but can identify himself with the more advanced aspects of form. It's a very interesting statement, this, because here we have the problem of modern science, modern medicine, and its various abuses because of the fact that humanity is just lifting the veil and is at, and in general is at the point of evolution that is not necessarily soul conscious yet. In terms of many scientists who inhabit that world, who deal with that which is seen and weighed and measured and so forth, but deny the existence of the soul. And that's all part of human evolution as well, of course. The greater knowledge that one learns, the mental body expands, and greater understanding also is related to deeper compassion. There's a relationship between the fifth ray and the second ray of love wisdom. Hence, every year while the sun passes through Libra, the consequences or karma of what began in Aries in March, April, find their realization in Libra individually, collectively, and globally. So I remind you all that you can, as I talk, I keep an eye on the chat, and you're welcome to drop any questions in the comments there. It usually triggers some good insights for the group as a whole. So don't be afraid to ask or anything about what I'm commenting on here. So some idea that you initiated as part of your New Year's resolution may come up for review during Libra in terms of how that idea is still precipitating or fully manifested. How strong was one's resolve or follow through in realizing that idea's goal? Libra is where the idea can come to fruition because it is a sign of practical manifestation. As DK says in this famous or infamous quote, 3 of these rays definitely predispose the Libran subject to concrete understanding, to intelligent will, and to knowledge. The first ray, the fifth ray, and the third ray. Hence the effectiveness of Libra upon the physical plane, the power of the developed Libran to project the inner spiritual purpose or intended will into physical expression. In the instance of this was of a person equipped to do this can be seen in H.P. Blavatsky, who had the moon and Venus in Libra, of course, and who had the task of bringing the highly abstract philosophical teachings down to the physical plane through her writings. Alice Bailey also, another amanuensis who followed HPB, also had the moon in Libra. Interesting. Of course, Libra is a sign of friendship and affability and approachability and openness. It's similar to Gemini in many ways. They're both signs of relationship. Libra is more generally associated with intimate personal relationships. Gemini more to do with general relationships. But Libra, both signs share each other's qualities. Libra's, particularly with the moon in Libra, very easygoing or outgoing. Michael says here, the middle way between the soul and the personality must lead to the will aspect who synthesizes the other two. Indeed, there is the first ray that DK mentions in this last quote. He mentions the first ray, the fifth ray, and the third ray. This first ray energy is what I think strong Librans, political leaders tap into, such as Vladimir Putin, who's a Libran, and also Netanyahu, who I have a lengthy profile upon in this latest newsletter, with examining him from the point of view of a different rising sign that I've used before. It seems that he's Sagittarius rising as opposed to Scorpio rising. So this full moon around about 24, 25 degrees Libra Aries actually falls on his sun very closely. And the next full moon in Scorpio falls on, is conjunct, in fact, Uranus in Taurus, and falls on Israel's Taurus sun. All right, so like the symbol of Aries Libra blended together. And I always try and emphasize the importance of the polar opposite signs in esoteric astrology. The 6 pairs of zodiac signs where we resolve the pairs of opposites. Even if you don't have planets in your opposite sign, it doesn't matter. That opposite sign is always being invoked. In fact, you can go into the whole cross. If you're a Libran sun, for instance, then the cardinal cross is going to be potent, which includes the energies of the rays and planets and signs at each point of that cross. Here in this diagram, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, is the new symbol for the cardinal cross of the zodiac, which is a triangle surmounting a long line. Capricorn appropriately is the point of the triangle, Capricorn, the mountaintop of initiation. And Cancer opposite, of course, down here, and Aries in the east, and Libra in the west. Quite an in-depth diagram, and of course the positions of Saturn and Mars at each point of this cardinal cross. So I do talk about in this newsletter. So it is during the month of Libra that a review of the ideas or propaganda initiated in the March Aries period, whether they have borne good or bad fruit, today the entire planet is in complete disarray, disagreement, and divisiveness over many ideas. The reason is because humanity is developing discrimination and learning to think independently, balancing the pairs of opposites upon the mental plane. It is no accident, therefore, that Libra is currently prominent in the planetary horoscope. DK says, in this transition period through which the world is now passing, in this interlude between two activities, this is what Libra is, it's the interlude. That of the Piscean age, which is passing, and that of the Aquarius age, which is coming, Libra will eventually rule. And the end of this century, the 20th century, will see the influence of Libra steadily coming into pronounced control and into a position of power in the planetary horoscope. And he does go on to say, and therefore there is no need for concern. And I've often joked, easier said than done, DK, given the parlous state. But of course, we are on the cusp of 2 zodiacal ages. We're on the cusp of 2 root races, the 5th and 6th root race. We're on the cusp of 2 cycles of rays, the outgoing 6th ray of devotion and idealism, which has characterized the entire Piscean age, and the incoming 7th ray of order and organization. Of course, Uranus is the ruler of that ray, and Uranus, the aforesaid planet of science, and also the esoteric ruler of Libra. So Librans can be very good organizers, tapping into that seventh ray energy, whether they have the seventh ray in their ray structure or not. Nicholas says, the two great lines of force which comes to my mind are the two lines of force on the astral plane, the plane in which the life power is acquired, thus related to the result of the second initiation. There should be some kind of two lines of force which come to touch during the fourth initiation. Can you comment on this? No, I can't. But you make a good point, because I'm going to cover this bit about the astral plane and Libra in a few more paragraphs. And how are these pair different from the pair that resolved the second initiation? Yeah, as I say, I can't really comment on that today. It's a tough question. Science of initiation, of course, is a sub-science of esoteric astrology, and it helps to try and ascertain where you are on the path of initiation. As is the natural hubris of humanity, we tend to place ourselves way ahead of where we actually are. I always suggest we subtract at least one or two initiations. But of course, this subject has to be known, and we go through all the glamours of and illusions of thinking where we might be. We can take aspects of higher initiations before we take, for instance, the second initiation, and therefore, we are all at different stages of evolution. We all on different ray lines. We're all at different stages of unfolding the heart center and the various petals of the egoic lotus and so forth. Anyway, I digress. Maximilian says, thanks. Yeah, okay, thank you, Maximilian. Very good. Ciao for now. Okay, so during Libra, a Libran decision must be made by governing bodies, groups, and the voting populace as to a course of action. To follow blindly the advice of some supposed authority or utilize independent critical thinking. This is a subject that's come up in a very big way since 2020, and all the restrictions and by governments around the world, corporations that were standing behind governments and so forth. And it's created, it's kind of backfired in a way in terms of creating a massive awakening in humanity, woken up to the game, who have found their way out of the matrix, so to speak. So more and more people are waking up to what's going on and are becoming more independent critical thinkers, essentially, rather than going along with the mass mind, or what's the other word I'm looking for? The mob mentality. So a large proportion, however, of ordinary humanity cannot think critically and need this kind of guidance for society to work by certain laws, of course. But there's a very large group that has developed the capacity for critical thought. And these thinkers are challenging the status quo of the established thought and the thought that has become very corrupted and distorted. So Saturn at the personal level is about independent thinking, disciplined research, and a careful weighing of the scales, the pairs of opposites upon the mental plane, using the judicial mind. So we get to this bit now. It is in Libra that the balancing of the pairs of opposites must take place and reach solution through the activity of the judicial mind and the establishing of a point of equilibrium between the male and the female principles. This is the problem existing basically between the sheep, Aries, and the goats, Capricorn, between negative and positive, between those who blindly follow either instinct or custom, and those who climb freely where they choose and are self-directed in conduct and attitude. I'm not going to read it all. You can read the rest yourselves if you haven't done so already. That particular quote, in fact, does refer quite specifically to sex, Libra being one of the main signs of sex, but it also can be applied in terms of what's written here in this quote. So, indeed, climbing freely or following the herd, the sheep and the goats, represent 2 points of this four-armed cardinal cross that I touched upon before. And Libra, of course, is choosing the way that leads between those two great lines of force, between Aries and Capricorn, symbolically speaking, at least. And in Buddhism, this middle way is known as the Majja Mapratipad. And that's part of the Noble Eightfold Path that the Buddha himself is famous for in his teachings. So I'm just coming back here to a comment. Michael says 2 other lines of force could be seen as blending the third ray of the first major solar system and the second of this solar system. Indeed. Well, that's a very esoteric comment, Michael. Thank you. The first solar system, of course, being related to the Jewish people, as I discussed in last month's newsletter in Virgo. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down here a bit to find this bit that someone else was talking about. Who was it? Nicholas, just a minute. Yeah, Libra and the reversal of the wheel, the path of aspiration and discipleship. Perhaps you'd already read this, Nicholas, had been pondering on it. So Libra and Scorpio are signs both related to the wheel, to the reversal of the wheel, I should say. So there are quotes about both signs in different contexts about this in esoteric astrology and in other of the blue books. But this one here says humanity as a whole today is reversing itself upon the great zodiacal wheel, just as the individual disciple does. The point of reversal and the sign or signs in which it takes place mark a momentous point of crisis in the life of this kingdom in nature, producing upheaval, difficulty, and a whole gamut of readjustments necessitated by the reorientation. Well, that's where we find ourselves right now, do we not? In this Libran interlude between the 2 ages of Pisces and Aquarius. And even though that Libra was going to be waxing stronger in the planetary horoscope at the end of last century, of course, it's still prominent in the planetary horoscope now, only 25 years later. Libra, therefore, I'm reading another quote here now from Esoteric Astrology. Libra therefore controls the moment of reversal of the wheel on the life of every aspirant, for there comes a moment in the cycle of lives wherein a point of balance is reached and a relative equilibrium is attained, and over this event, Libra presides. And I'm going a bit further down here. Yeah, so this is very important. Libra is related to the mental unit, which is on the 4th subplane of the mental plane, counting from above down. Well, it's the middle plane of the 7 subplanes, in fact. Mental unit. You can see up here the ego or the soul, the causal body, resides on the higher subplanes of the mental plane. The mental unit, however, is on the highest subplane of the concrete subplanes, the concrete mind. Okay. So the concrete mind, the mental unit occupies this area here, and the higher mind represents these higher 3 subplanes of where the soul is anchored, one of those subplanes, depending on the ray of the soul. So Libra is related to the mental unit and produces eventually a balance between the pairs of opposites. This is brought about upon the astral plane. It's the attainment of this balance which produces the reversal of the mode of passing around the zodiacal wheel that takes place when integration has occurred and the man or woman is focused upon the mental plane. He can then, through right use of the mind, discriminate between the pairs of opposites and find a narrow razor-edge path which passes between them and keep his balance upon it. What a great Libran quote that is. All those words relating to Libra and balance. And of course, the astral body can only be controlled by the mental body. It's a higher vehicle. And because most of humanity is still astrally polarized, about 80%, the Tibetan mentions, I think, 70 or 80%, and has not developed the mental capacity fully as a smaller percentage of humanity has, then they are still subject to astral control, so to speak. It's only when you become more mentally polarized that there can be more of a mental discipline exerted upon the astral body. And so that's what this quote is all about here, and is what Nicholas was referring to. That leads to the second degree initiation, the complete control, demonstrated control of the astral body. And that second degree initiation is generically ruled over by Scorpio, the following sign to Libra. In a sense, going around the wheel in the anti-clockwise direction, the clockwise direction, the reverse wheel. The tests that are applied, that are the reversal of the wheel that occurs in Libra, is tested severely in the following sign of Scorpio, that rules over, generically speaking, the second initiation. Someone called Gemini here says the thinking is often related to desire in the astral plane. The theme of karma manas. I think you mean here karma manas. When you start, or desire mind, when you start to observe the thinking in the astral, you've got a few spelling errors there. I can't figure out what you're trying to say there. Leading to aspirational desire thinking. Neptune, yes, Neptune is one of the key factors. The god of the waters, of course, the astral plane, the watery plane, is ruled by Neptune. And of course, the astral body, the chakra for the astral body is the solar plexus chakra, which is ruled by Neptune and Mars. Mars is more the volatile, emotional element. Neptune is the more refined Pacific, if you'd like to use the word Pacific Ocean quality that is a karma quality. They both have their higher and lower expressions, of course. All the planets, all the signs, and all the rays have their higher and lower expressions. So humanity, the large portion of humanity has now become the planetary Arjuna. Arjuna, similar to the word Arjuna, is it not? Who must make a choice upon the battlefield Kurukshetra, moving from an hitherto astral consciousness to becoming more mentally polarized. And this is the Dharma of the fifth root race. So this other quote's worth reading out as well. Next, there comes a period in the life of the aspirant when he shifts off the probationary path and moves onto the path of discipleship. This is the result of an activity which is a reflection in his individual personality life of the approach of acquiescence. This takes place upon the battlefield of the astral plane. There, the disciple acquiesces consciously in the inevitable process of transmutation which takes place before the personality can be a fit instrument for the soul. He stands between the pairs of opposites, learning the secret of duality, and like Arjuna, fixed at the Libra midway point, he seeks the way out, eventually acquiescing in the task ahead. This is the stage of submission to which every disciple subjects himself. Of course, the two armies facing off against each other here is a great metaphor for the army of the Lord and the army of the soul and the army of the personality. So just about run out of time, but important to touch upon these factors. And thanks very much for those excellent comments and questions from those who attended today. Before we wrap up, we've got a few more minutes yet for any other comments and questions. So I was going to talk about Venus and Scorpio, but you can read that if you want to. And I mentioned Venus and Scorpio twice in this newsletter in two different sections. So the negative aspect of Venus in Scorpio: jealousy, hatred, ruthless, cold or indifferent, possessive or obsessive, vengeful, spiteful, power-hungry, sexually manipulative, dominating love-hate relationships. In other words, absolutely charming. And Libra is supposed to be the charming sign, is it not? Anyway, I did mention that in terms of negotiations between nations, that this quality negative aspect of Venus could make it very difficult to create peace and harmony. Although in another sense, it can also be a good quality of cutting through the crap, getting to the core issues. Michael asks, doesn't Neptune have a higher rulership over all substance on all three planes? It's trident that can swirl each of them. Yes, I think so. I think you might be referring to some referencing a treatise on cosmic fire, the great 1400-page tome by Alice Bailey. And in that book, the Tibetan discusses the fact that about how the disciple coordinates Neptune and the Buddhic factor or intuition, and that it will be prominent in the charts in some way. I'm kind of mangling the paraphrasing there, but words to that effect. Neptune is Buddhi ultimately, and excuse me, or intuition, direct knowledge, and we tap into that. Some of us are far more intuitive than others. We all get intuitive flashes throughout our lives over many lifetimes, and that intuition can have a direct reflection within the astral body. If the astral body is purged and purified sufficiently, it will become an accurate reflection for Buddhi, which bypasses the mental plane and finds its point of least resistance in the astral body. All right, friends. The exact full moon time is, I think, at 11:24 GMT tomorrow. So if you're awake or not asleep in whatever part of the world you live in Europe, obviously, it's going to be during the day, then meditating 1 hour before the exact full moon is always the most powerful time of approach. So I will leave it at that, and see you next month. And I'll click on the music again. Thanks very much, everyone, for coming and participating in this group service of meditation too. Thank you.